comes to promoting your business, sharing your voice and influence with the world, does it energize you or leave you a trembling puddle of nerves? Whether you're an introvert, an extrovert, or somewhere in between, the ability to communicate with your peers in the workplace or your customers as a business owner is key in today's digital age. But there's an absolute art to effective and confident communication. Today's guest, voice coach and public speaker trainer Maria Pellicano, specialises in helping professionals, leaders, and business owners improve their voice, presence, and confidence. Through a combination of mindset, message, and voice, Maria helps her clients master the skill of communication, find their voice, and speak with influence and impact. And in this episode, Maria is sharing tips to help all of us do just that. Hi, Maria. Welcome to the podcast.
Welcome to you too. I mean, this is exciting, and I'm really excited and looking forward to our conversation.
Well, I have to say, I'm a little nervous about speaking to you today because, when I started this podcast, I absolutely hated my voice. And, listening to myself, I was like, oh, golly, this, it sounds terrible. I think 18 months later, I simply just block the thought out and just dive on and keep going. So I don't know if that's a strategy here when we're
Yeah, keep
speaking with,
going.
with influence and impact. And I definitely am not sure I've mastered the art, but so I'm looking forward to your tips for speaking, with influence and impact today. But before we get started, can you share a little bit about what you do and your business journey with the audience? Because it really is a fascinating occupation that you have.
Yeah, it is fascinating. I do lots of different things to keep that energy and that focus around my topic because I often ask myself, what am I actually doing? And I sit there and think, how many different arms does this work, this organism? It feels like it's living and moving because it's constantly changing. And what I mean by that, I fluctuate between communication skills, which is how do we communicate with keeping in mind the other person and what's important to the other person, to voice technique. And then it's also creative speaking, where I'm singing or I'm teaching somebody how to sing. I'm also fascinated about poetry. Um, so it's practical and it's also creative. And so it requires some vulnerability at times. As much as it's practical, hands on, it does require, just deepening the voice and the conversations we're having into some sort of creative field where we can be unique in the way we communicate.
Absolutely. And I think, as you said, it's sort of, it's like an organism. It's a living, it's breathing, it's ever changing.
Mm.
What a fabulous way to describe running a
Mm.
business. And so how did you make that decision to sort of start your own business?
I was about 23 years ago, I was working in corporate and leading people, but I knew deeply that there was more to what I was doing. I was really fascinated about human potential, training, and development. I've always said I wanted to be a teacher, and I became a singer. However, I was teaching and I was influencing it even as a teenager in youth groups, music teams. I grew up in a church environment, and so I had large audiences all the time that I was working with. So the whole being comfortable in front of others was something I grew up with, and also the oldest in the family. So, leadership started early for me in an Italian family while my parents went to work. And so, how did I start? Is I believe I've been doing this all my life, as far as I can remember.
Mm.
And even my mother says that I was always leading even before I was asked. And so, starting a business is about leading for me, and it's about using your voice to influence what it is that you want. And along the way, I've learned to respect that a little bit more. I don't know if you know much about the Enneagram and different personalities. Some of us find
Mm-hmm.
it easier, and some find it harder to
Yes.
lead and speak out. For me, it's been easy, but I've had to really learn how to do that with respect as I've become older. So starting a business isn't just about you; it's about serving. And it's about
Absolutely.
meeting the needs of other people. And so that's what I've learned to respect more and more. And also the diversity, that when you don't have answers, it's okay to just stay with what is. And that's part of the communication too that we have with ourselves and we
Mm-hmm.
have with others. We don't always have the answers. And in business, I think we always think we've got to have the answer, got to have it sorted out. There are many holes. There are many black holes that are waiting for them to explain themselves as such, as you go along. So business is it's 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 a living organism. It's constantly changing if you're prepared to go on the ride.
Yeah.
And
And how
yeah,
interesting that you say that, because it's so true that, there are so many things that we can't answer, we don't know the answers to, whether it's, because we don't have that proverbial crystal ball, or whether it's just because what we want to tackle is so big. And
mm,
quite often it's about sitting in that discomfort or in that white
mm,
space to try and work out
mm,
what which way we should proceed. And I
mm,
think a lot of business owners are keen to just keep charging and getting things done, but I mean, it's kind of key to as you say, let it evolve and change as it needs to.
yeah. And sitting with it and knowing deeply that your business is something that starts in your soul, the organ of the soul. Sometimes people don't like the word soul, but it starts in your imagination and in your inner being. That's where the business starts. And so you've got to sit with that promise that you've had, that kind of feeling, that sense of something is there, and you work with it crumb by crumb by crumb. And that's what it's
Mm.
been like for me. And it's ever evolving and it hasn't stopped. It's a living organism. Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing is, you believe that everybody has something to say, which I love that
Mm,
idea, because I agree with you. I
mm,
think we all have something
mm,
to say.
mm,
But so often we hold back and we don't speak up because of fear. And in your career, in your business, you've helped thousands of clients find their voice
mm.
and be, have the courage to say what it is they want to say. So I wonder if you found a theme there in terms of why it is we hold back.
Well, the three human fears is safety. Am I safe? And then the next one is, do I matter? And the third one is, do I belong? So in other words, will I be rejected? So there are fears that we have. And so people hold back because what the underlying beliefs around that is, am I good enough? What will
Mm-hmm.
happen if I get rejected? Who am
Mm.
I if I am rejected? And so we're living with those fears all the time. They're in all of us. And some of us have silenced them, repressed them, and we just kind of keep going, keep going. The fact is, just being with those feelings is important. And sometimes we don't like that. We don't want to speak. We don't want to step out if we're slightly uncomfortable. We have to have it, I have to know it all. I have to really
Mm-hmm.
have it all worked out. And so, yes, of course, if there's budgets involved, you're not going to step out and invest lots of money into something that you're not sure about. But it's about stepping it out, and it's about going on that journey of the evolvement of that business, which is a living entity in itself. It's constantly growing inside of you, and you're having to trust those crumbs bit by bit, and that requires faith, really, trust.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think as you say, on your website, it's so important for each of us to find our voices and learn to speak with influence, because it can make such a difference to our business,
Mm,
right?
mm. Yeah, yeah. Find your voice, find your message. Start with that little inkling of something that you feel is there, and even start dreaming about it. Sit down and contemplate it. Just reflect, journal, start to evolve, and push away the feelings of uncertainty for a moment and just say, well, what would it be like if I could really believe that this is possible? And just start on that journey for yourself first. You know, Often it's about you convincing yourself first. So
Mm-hmm.
go on it yourself first. Your voice, your message, your experience. What is your gift? What is your experience? Where are you coming from? And slowly start to test it out and see what's happening with yourself first. Put it out there, just see what happens. Trust it little by little. And the ability to influence is only when you are convinced yourself and you are being influenced first and foremost.
Yeah. I think I think we're so sort of conditioned now to looking at digital media in particular.
Mm.
And there's so many absolute extroverts on there that are kind of jumping on and doing reels and selling their business that way. So whether you're a business owner that feels compelled to do that, because I
Yeah.
know that's not for everybody, or whether you're a business owner who knows that their business is going to benefit by getting up on a stage or going and giving a talk to some peers or to your potential audience, but you feel super super nervous about speaking up in public, or it could even be speaking up in a meeting at work. I mean, it doesn't just have to be for business owners here. Do you have any tips for overcoming the nerves and improving our confidence?
Well, it's different for everybody, but overall, it's about calming down your nervous system because I still have moments like that where I'm feeling
Mm-hmm.
uncomfortable. I doubt myself. I often wonder, why is it? Like, I'm so good at that thing. I've got so many reviews and I've never stuffed up, but it still feels a little bit edgy and a bit worried. So I put extra time in. There's some areas that I have that and some areas that I don't. And those areas of my voice, I don't know. I was listening to a poem today by David White. I don't know if you know David White, and he's
Yeah.
got beautiful poems. And he was saying about forgiving yourself. Sometimes we don't know where those feelings come of that concern, of expectation you have on yourself that may have been there for a very long time. So it's about like really accepting that some things are uncomfortable and you're going to do it anyway. So I didn't say but and you're going to do it. So you're
Mm-hmm.
with the feeling and you're going to do it. Unless you completely freeze, lock up, collapse. That's a totally different thing. That can happen. That vagus nerve can really shut us down sometimes if you're absolutely traumatized. But if you go through moments like that, what I would do is prepare beforehand, visualize the whole event from beginning to end, seeing all the steps and what it is that you need to give yourself. If that means extra time, give yourself extra time. If that
Mm-hmm.
means an extra note on the side just to support your presentation, you do that. You just give yourself those little extra benefits to help you feel the confidence, stepping it out and visualizing the whole thing. And in the midst of it, breathing, deep breathing, and sometimes a hand on the head and a hand on the heart before the event. Of course, you're not going to do that on stage, but
Mm-hmm.
hand on the head and a hand on the heart, just calming down the nervous system and
Mm-hmm.
really sitting in silence and doing your inner work and preparation, visualizing what you want, looking at what you don't want and seeing what you can do to mitigate that. Sometimes for me that means coming in an hour earlier. That relaxes me and instead of
Mm-hmm.
running around at the last minute, because then I'm actually going to be extra nervous. Or sometimes I just don't have coffee, I don't have stimulants before I step up in an environment where I'm feeling uncomfortable. I make sure I have a good sleep. I prepare days and days before. My body, my mind.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think, and I think the other thing is that, as you say, it's about sort of that combination of mindset, message, voice, and then being able to deliver that sort of effectively and
Mm,
confidently. Because
mm,
there's a couple of things. I mean, first of all, it makes such a difference to the people who are listening to you. They're more
mm.
likely to buy into what you're selling if
Yeah.
you're feeling confident. Um, and and I think that's sort of as about being clear and really knowing the message that you want to get across to your audience that convinces them to go on the journey with you. And so in terms of now we're up on stage and we've actually got to present, we've calmed those nerves, we're there, we've got to present. Do you have any tips that can help us, whether we're on stage, whether we're on Zoom, in terms of monitoring our voice and just the
Mm,
way we present? Because so many people will get up, they'll speak super fast. You won't really understand what they're trying to say. The emphasis is on the wrong word. So I'm interested in your go-to tips for great
mm,
presenting.
mm. So we want to be energized and we want to speak with brightness in the voice, but sometimes that's nervousness So there's this kind of like tension in the jaw, like, and it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of high pitched like this, and it's really going fast. And if you have an accent, every word keeps to running into each other, and it's very hard to actually hear any difference between one word or the other. And it's like too fast, or it can be too like staccato, like this. So there are
Yeah.
all sorts of funny things,
Yeah.
strange things going on that's beyond the normal when your nerves kick in. So and a sense of steadiness and space. And for me, it's about feeling the stillness around what I'm saying also. So there's both. There's action and momentum and excitement around what you're saying, but there's also stillness upon which, like, all of that is sitting on the stillness, the space.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's about, is the space holding the activity? So that allows me to sit into the space, to sit into the stillness of all
Mm-hmm.
things. And so, how do I do that? One, I need to know that, I need to feel that. And I think for me, meditation, stillness, contemplation is when you're just listening to the wind. This is preparation beforehand, you know, knowing what that space is like. Because when you're really under tension, you've got to know what the space is like, the stillness. What is it like? Can you feel the difference between the activity and the stillness?
Mm-hmm.
Do we know that? Are we familiar? You could do that with the breath, a deep breath. When you breathe, you're not thinking. You're releasing
Mm.
those active thoughts that are just like running one after the other. And so again, what is it that your audience needs? Do they need you to be just speaking so fast and trying to get through all the material? Or do they want the presence of what you say? Do they want to feel the presence of what you say? So I would say they do. I think
Yes.
they're reading between the lines. They're not listening to every single word. They're reading your body language. It doesn't have to be perfect. Like even now, I mean, some people might like this and some people may not like it, and it's okay. I accept that as
Mm-hmm.
part of the picture. It's just part of the picture. And
Yeah.
I'm just like almost a servant to my work. I'm not like the like forcer of it. I'm just going on the journey myself, and
Yeah.
I'm allowing it to come out. So just answering your question, a deep breath every now and then, just feeling your breath, maybe a hand on your belly if you can, if it's possible, uh, understanding the breath, noticing the stillness upon which the language expresses itself. And it's sort of hard to explain that unless you've had that experience. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's so interesting, isn't it? Because most of us, if we had to deliver a talk or we have to speak up in a meeting after the fact, that is when the ego sort of starts to shred what we've just done to pieces or prop us up to sort of, feel like we're, fabulous and unstoppable. And it'd be fabulous, it'd be amazing to have that ladder feeling all the time that we're unstoppable and on top of the world. But do you think it's important if you want to be that effective and confident communicator and almost be, as you say, that conduit to the message that needs to come through your business so you can serve better? Do you think it's important to sort of park that ego after you've delivered the talk or spoken up at the meeting, and rather than beat yourself up, think, okay, that's done, and move forward? Or do you think that analysis of what's just happened and how we can improve it is an important part of all of the process?
It can be both.
Mm.
You can do both of them. It doesn't have to be one or the other. The opinion about it's been really, really good, or oh my God, that was so terrible.
Mm.
It doesn't change anything. It doesn't change anything. It just puts you on a ride.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
Yeah.
either going to make you feel good or it's going to make you feel bad. And at the end, it is what it is. It couldn't
Yeah.
be anything else than what was delivered. And for that moment, that's all it could be. It does need reflection. I think everything needs reflection and review. And there are times that you get it wrong, and there are times that you're in one zone and the people are in another zone, because often people don't tell you the truth about
Mm-hmm.
what's going on. They'll even a feedback form isn't always the truth about what they actually say to their friends or their bosses. So it's good to open it up and allow whatever's meant to be, and go on that journey of the breadcrumbs. It's
Mm-hmm.
a living organism, meaning it's always becoming more. You're learning more yourself. You are, to me, it's like I'm servant to the work. I'm delivering. I'm serving my community. I'm serving people. We'll just see what happens. I don't own it. I'm not attached to it. I'm trying to not be attached to it. Even though I promote my work, I'm not attached to it.
Yeah.
What's the attachment is going to cause me the biggest problem, and aversion to it, meaning I have to work with what comes up.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm the one that gives things meaning. So my ego gives it meaning. Sure, there are times I really enjoy it, and there are times that I wish I was out of the room.
Yeah.
I, but I've got to continue. I continue, and I try not to just believe every thought I have. I just carry on and review it later. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, absolutely. Because, I mean, often it is about the story that we tell ourselves. And it's so important
Mm,
to kind of, keep
mm,
that story as real as possible, because otherwise, our
yeah,
business will go off on a track that we never wanted it to go off on, and we'll lose the whole purpose of why we
yeah.
started. And as you've watched your business change and grow over the years, is there something you can sort of point to and say, okay, yes, that's the secret of creating a successful business, and, share that with the audience?
Yeah, I think I gauge that based on how people respond to my work.
Mm-hmm.
It's really, I say to people, your voice is not for you, it's for others. It's how
Mm-hmm.
others respond to it. It's like you're a chef, you're cooking. I mean, great, you're a fantastic chef, but if nobody's eating your food, or they're not wanting to come back and eat it again and again, then how are you a chef,
Yeah.
right? So my voice is for others, and so it's important I notice how people respond to it. And based on that, I know what I need to focus on. So for me, a lot of people put me into voice coaching
Mm-hmm.
because I'm definitely a voice coach. And there are so many other aspects of my work, that I've spent a lot of time doing. I'm currently completing a diploma in counseling because I think the feelings and emotions, the voice is the organ of the soul. Like what's going on the inside is your
Mm-hmm.
voice. I'm interested in poetry and creative speaking. I'm interested in people tailoring what they do, not from a script, but what's important to the other person or the audience. And I think that's a creative space once you get in touch with your feelings. And so that's a whole new interpersonal aspect of speaking that isn't just about, lip trills and posture and breathing. I mean, they're important, but I usually get taken back into that space, and that's where people want me to function.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm kind of wanting to add more, and not everybody's ready to do that in voice coaching.
Yeah.
They want to do the voice coaching, but they're not always happy to see what's affecting their voice. Their voice. What are the thoughts? What are the beliefs? What are the values? What are the vulnerabilities to accept? Because part of that does create that creative voice.
Yeah. And I guess that's what brings the success, because it's about, as you say, how people are responding to what it is you're delivering, and them wanting to come back for more, and to be part of your business as it changes and evolves,
Yeah.
as you get further advanced in your business. So yeah.
And now we're talking a lot about executive presence, the word presence. We're talking about emotional intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
These are, conscious business. We're talking about now the whole person speaking, not just the voice or
Mm-hmm.
what I'm supposed to say. I want to be fully present with what
Yeah.
is. And so that takes a lot more courage. And whether we're, doing science or data delivery, we don't want robots speaking. We don't want people just reading scripts to us. We want to feel, we want to see the personality in the information. We want to know what you're really believing and feeling. Otherwise, just give me the script. I usually say,
Yeah.
just give me the script. I'll
Yeah.
read it myself. But
Exactly.
when you're presenting, I don't care if you're a scientist or a lawyer or a data expert and you're having to relay information, let's feel what you say. Let's get to the meaning of what you say and where it's going and the purpose of what you're delivering. And I think that requires that emotional intelligence, which is self-awareness. What's going
Yeah.
on for you, which is awareness of others, which is authenticity, emotional reasoning and self-management, and then eventually inspiring performance. That's the Genos International model of emotional intelligence. Then inspiring others. But often we want to inspire others and we have no self-awareness and we no awareness of others. And that's a tricky space to be in, because in that
Mm-hmm.
there's vulnerability. And then authenticity. So that's got to come out in the communication.
Yeah. And don't you think there's been such a spotlight shone onto, the authenticity piece in particular over the last couple of years
Yeah.
during COVID, because people wanted to feel, and I think they still want to
Yeah.
feel like they're dealing with authentic business owners who stand for something. And I think, and I certainly have found people are more likely to engage with your business and to want to buy from you and go on that journey with you if you can get that across, who you are, as you say, rather than just give me the script, I'll read it, and then I don't have to waste my time listening to you. So
Yeah.
yes.
And
Yeah.
by the way, some of us are speaking like a legal document. I just did a podcast on that. Well, it's on my YouTube channel. We're speaking like a legal document.
Yeah.
We're not authentic. We're just trying to make sure we tick all the boxes, reading the content, ticking it off the list that we've done it. And here there's no human beingness in what we say. And I think we're wanting to see that now. We want our leaders to really believe what they say and say what they mean, and to get to that, and across all fields, science and legal and data and IT, even the areas that aren't necessarily in the sales environment, where we've got the introverts, where we
Mm-hmm.
have people that are either quieter, and the more withdrawn. If they're speaking, is to learn how to do that, even by slightly admitting that I'm not totally comfortable right now. However, this is what the data's pointing towards, or this
Mm-hmm.
is what we need to be discussing. But then, to do that, you have to be courageous and brave and start to explore it little by little. You can do videos on yourself. You can get feedback from people you trust. Um, and you can keep saying, even if you said that same paragraph over and over and saying in different ways, where
Mm-hmm.
you can tap into more and more authenticity, that you really believe what you say, you're connected to what you say. Um, and it is quite challenging when people are having to say things that they don't own.
Yeah. And it's super obvious, and so I
Mm,
think, as you say, it's about tapping into, you know the message, using the way you're thinking, your mindset, and then your voice and your body language to sort of project that, so you are coming across as being that authentic person,
yeah,
who also happens to be a business owner, or who
yeah.
is an employee of a particular business, and then delivering that with the confidence and impact that comes with that authenticity.
And presence. So the authenticity is also presence.
Mm-hmm.
It's presence because I'm present to what's here right now, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm focused here with you, and I'm giving all of me to this cause of what I'm saying right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not thinking about other things like, I hope I'm right, I hope she likes me, because that's futuristic. So the future
Mm-hmm.
and the past may be visions of like, well, things that went wrong in the past. Instead of all that, let's be present right now. This is a true moment. This is the only moment I'm in, and what can I create right here? So the authenticity is also being present with what is, and that may mean that I'm feeling nervous, and just to acknowledge that within yourself and to be with it, that it's okay. I even just give yourself a little tap, because that's usually that inner critic or that younger child in you,
Mm-hmm.
just a little tap, like, we'll be fine. Even a little icon that you can wear, that just an anchor, that's, you touch yourself and you remember, it's okay, I got you.
Yeah.
Let's keep going. Let's keep
Yeah.
going. There's this kind of inner conversation with yourself, reassuring yourself, because you're on purpose, you're delivering a message. So there's a lot of that. And I think a lot of times we're blocking parts of ourselves, and yet our voice is trying to speak. And there's parts of us that we are not speaking, parts of us that we don't even want to speak to. Um, we don't do enough reflection. We don't do enough journaling, and what are we talking about? What are we really doing? Most of us just rolling up to a job, or just thinking, I've got to just deliver that, and here it goes again. There's no real wholeness that I'm noticing. I think that's where we need to go, is
Mm-hmm.
connect to what we say, and that means all of us. And so the word "and" is really important.
Mm-hmm.
That I am uncomfortable, and it's got to be done because this message needs to be delivered. This data piece that I'm delivering is a little jigsaw puzzle. It's a little puzzle, little piece to the whole big picture. It's really important I deliver my little piece because we're completing the big picture. So
Mm-hmm.
really feeling meaningful in your work, because that probably helps too, to give you that sense of courage and purpose in what you do, which can, kind of ride out the nervousness underneath it.
Yes, such
Yeah.
an important message, and such vital work that you do in helping business owners, in helping employees of companies, and
Mm,
individuals find that voice and that the presence and the
mm.
authenticity. So I really appreciate you being on the podcast today, Maria, and sharing your insights and your expertise with the audience. Before we go, I need to ask one final question. If you could have a billboard with anything on it, what would it be?
Mm. I would say it would be trust your presence. Trust who you are. You are significant. So presence would be that, your presence matters.
Mm-hmm.
And that presence for me isn't just, hey, I'm here. I'm here, and I'm here because I believe I have something to say. I am somebody that needs to be here right now, that every moment is significant, even if the ones that you don't like, that you're there and you're part of the picture. So presence is the biggest word for me, being
Mm-hmm.
present and being present with yourself and others. So I would say that. And it's important that we trust our presence and we're okay to be with ourselves, even the parts that we don't like, that we're silencing, and then bringing that to others. So, does that answer it?
It sure does. Thank you so much. Now, where can listeners connect with you if they would like
Sure.
to reach out or to use your services?
All right. Well, my website, mariapellicano.com, is there, and there's a lot of free resources, a lot of work there about exercises you can do for your voice, physical things you can do to vitalize your voice and give it the strength, the movement of the jaw and the mouth and the strength there. So physical things you can do, so you can subscribe to my free resources.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also lots of chats on my YouTube channel. There's about 160 short little chats that I've had with clients around voice and communication. And there's also my podcast on Spotify, and all my music's there too. So
Fabulous. Well, I will put those links into the show notes. I appreciate your time. It's been so lovely talking to you today,
thank you.
Maria, and hopefully we'll talk again soon.
Thank you so much, Justine.
Thank you for listening to this recording. I hope it has helped you. Please remember to subscribe to this channel. I'll see you next time.